In this video I'm going to go over the Amiga CD32 support in the MiSTer Minimig core that I'm trying to have added to it. For now it's on its own branch and it's an early access test, so I'm not sure what how the consequences might be on other parts, because it has made changes to MiSTer Main to add support for the Akiko chip that the CD32 has. The official Minimig repository already has support for something called Chunky 2 Planner in the Akiko chip that helps with some 3D features for 3D graphics. But currently here we have how it boots without the removable CD. Also it has a ROM file that I put together myself. So it's called CD32 swapped, but that's misleading because it's actually not really swapped. It's just the two CD32 ROMs put together. So it's a 3.1 regular Amiga 1200 ROM, and then the CD32 extended ROM put into one file. I have some instructions in the release in a README where it explains how to perform this combination to make them into a 1 megabyte ROM. In the README file in the release I put on the MiSTer forums. So to show that it works, I've just selected it here. I've disabled fast RAM because in most games that's the most compatible. The CD32 did not have fast RAM. And it should now support mounting games like this. And it'll boot the game. This is a CD-TV game. Defender of the Crown. So this is running CD music through the Akiko chip. It does have some issues. If you keep the intro going, it stops at one point where it should have some more speech, but it still works pretty well, as you can see here.
Fetch me my armor. The time has come to strike. These Normans are dead men. Arriving in Sherwood Forest, you are greeted by your old friend Robin of Locksley. Many years have passed since you served with Robin and his men, but disastrous news curtails the reunion. During your journey, an assassin has taken the king's life. The kingdom is in chaos because there is no heir to the throne. Worse still, the crown itself has disappeared. Normans are assembling armies and Saxons will fight them. Each side accuses the other of killing the king and taking the crown. Robin tells you the struggle ahead is for younger men. Men like you, he says. Only you can save England. Robin urges you to raise an army and pledges his aid 3 times if you will seek to reunite the darkness of the kingdom.
So here I haven't passed anything by clicking and such. I think it ends on its own. Oh, yeah. So here it gets into the game. I click now, and you can do all the regular stuff. A nice bit about the CD3B version is this manual. So it actually comes with a full game manual here. It just skipped when I clicked for some reason. Let's see. return and press the right arrow button. So I thought the right arrow button would yes, so it's just the up and down arrow keys. I thought that it was sort of left and right. So here you can just click through all of the instructions for the game, and I'll return with that one. So this should be a fully working game. I haven't actually tried having tournaments and so on in it, but and it's a pretty decent version of the game. I mean, graphically and with the audio it's really great, I think. But unfortunately the AI is pretty bad, so the Commodore 64 version might still be a better version of this game. But let's see what else works. Chuck Rock 2 had some issues to begin with, but one of them was actually just fast RAM, that it doesn't load correctly if you have fast RAM enabled.
Welcome, gamesters, to Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck. You'll remember that in our last exciting adventure, Chuck Rock defeated the evil Gary.
It's a pretty nice intro, but I'm skipping it for now to show that it actually gets into the game, or at least it should. But apparently this time it doesn't. I have several of these test MGLs that boots the Minimig core with specific settings, and sometimes this helps just using these because it reloads the whole core.
Welcome.
Because there are still things that doesn't seem to fully reset and such when you reset the core. It didn't enable fast RAM. So usually when games I'm giving some issues, I try several things because sometimes it helps. So loading an MGL.
Gamesters, to Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck.
So loading an MGL and then resetting the core sometimes makes it work better than just loading the MGL. And sometimes resetting the whole MiSTer helps. When this works, it should be faster at getting to the main menu. So I'll try resetting the MiSTer. My MiSTer is a full MiSTer, the old kind, not the new cheaper versions that can be made. So I'm not sure how compatibility might be with those. So let's see. Usually it should work now. But yeah, my MiSTer It has the 128 megabytes SD RAM expansion.
Welcome, gamesters, to
And it also has a an MT32 attachment with the Pi Mini that it's based on, so it can do MIDI stuff. Ah, that's annoying. I had this working several times.
welcome, gamesters, to Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck. You'll remember that in our last exciting adventure, Chuck Rock defeated the evil Gary Gritter and his despicable dinosaur.
I have set up my MiSTer so that it displays resolution changes in the top left corner. Sometimes that helps being able to see how the progress is going, because for some reason it changes resolution a lot. I guess we have to skip away from. By the way, fast RAM 2 to 8 megabytes is something called Z2 RAM, and that just doesn't work on this core. So if it has to be used, it has to be a Z3 RAM. Let's see if it helps to have.
Welcome, gamesters, to Chuck Rock 2.
I'm pretty sure it used to be the other way around though. Yeah, because this was 0 that came with fast RAM. So now I disable it again, reset.
Welcome, gamesters, to Chuck Rock 2.
Oh well. Let's try Simon the Sorcerer instead. This one seems to work with the full speed of the CD32 that it ought to have, maybe a bit faster because the core has faster CD loading speeds and the CPU is faster than an O20 CPU should be. So it was possible to get this working before, but that would be with emulation it would
pulling the dog out of the hat.
There would be more sync problems with the voice.
Now for some credits. Impressed, eh? Well, watch this.
Earlier implementing this, I had other problems with this, that it would get stuck. So this part would work, and then if I skip this part as I'm trying to now,
the wand never.
Then this part would get stuck. Right at the point the dog was about to bark, as if the audio was a problem for the dog. But here it works.
This homework is really bugging me.
And I can
think
still
I'll
skip.
Find the dog.
And then we get to the portal into the fantasy world.
Paper bring food.
I thought I heard something.
And this part also works.
Alizangi. Alizangi. Alizangi.
I have tested it loading where it loaded the full intro.
Hi, how do you do?
And then you can get into the game. And there's something over here, and then skip that. And we can control the mouse with the controller. Several games do not work with the controller as a mouse. I'm not sure if that's a problem, like if it's a bug with the core, or if it just really needed a mouse, because the games are usually CD32 games. No save file. That's a bit strange. I'm pretty sure I have a save for this game. But it might have been deleted at some point. Let's make a save game here. Use postcard. Save. And then we'll just go around here. Use the postcards. And load. And it unfortunately only has the one save, but that should be enough because you don't really die in this game and such, like the Zero games. But the really tricky part here is being able to reload everything and the save still being there. And to ensure that there's no tricks with the core keeping this in memory, because it's using something called BRAM to store the NVRAM. And to ensure that has been cleared, we need to reload the core fully. Oh, and opening the menu ensures that the NVRAM is saved to disk. The NVRAM is what the CD32 uses to store. The save games and such. I'm not sure. Some of these CF keys are outdated. So let's see if it just runs when yeah. It was probably a wrong outdated link for the CHD file. Oh, and yeah, now it has fast RAM. That's some. Unfortunately, I made most DMDL files with fast RAM enabled. And it shouldn't have. There's one or two games where fast RAM might help.
Pulling the dog out of the hat.
So let's skip, and skip, and skip, and skip, and let's try loading. And here we go, persisted save game. And it's still pretty in sync with the voices and such.
Highly magical and smelly compost.
Yeah. I quite like Simon the Sorcerer working, because that just shows the capability of the CD32, I think. So Jim Power isn't fully working, I think. Yeah, we just saw us Chuck Rock not working. Let's try it one more time, because I have gotten into the game several times, but I'm not sure what causes this instability. So there are still issues with the core for some reason. Oh yeah, and this one. Some games actually sometimes just stay at this screen. and if it stays there for more than a few seconds, it has crashed somehow. Yes, let's just try resetting and see if that works. So it has the CHD, it has too much RAM, yeah, and this time it boots.
Welcome, gamesters, to Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck. You'll remember that in our...
And I've seen this has issues in several different ways. Maybe I actually did get to fix this after the last release. This is reverted to the last current release. But I didn't see any relevant changes since this release, so it was mainly stuff to trace things and make sure it worked. And I'm using OBS to record this.
Welcome, gamesters, to Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck.
And let's see what else to test. James Point 3 is not working. There's something strange with how it does most things apparently. Universe is one of the games that should work, but it needs some specific settings. I think this one might actually have a problem with Gcache, is what the debugging came to. So here it looks fine, and I can select language. Oh, that works. Maybe that's one of the things I fixed with this release, because it usually had graphical errors with all of this. Not sure it has a skip. Oh, this might actually also be one of the games that needs a mouse. I still haven't tried connecting a mouse. So let's try another game. Chuck Rock 1 should work fine. Not sure why it didn't work with this is the Amiga Vision CD32 pack, and it has this folder with games that aren't working with that. So I found it to be a good one to ensure that we have achieved something with adding CD32 support more fully to this. Canon Photo was my minimal viable product test, because it didn't work with that one, and it's a game I have played a lot. So it had different issues. When I first started implementing it, it would have really long load times, so this part could take a minute or more, and then sometimes the music here and the graphics would not come at the same time. It would be a black screen just with just music. And here you can skip the intro, or you can keep watching these credits they made. This is images of the developers, I think. Jules as James Dean himself. I think this is actually a photo of James Dean for some reason, and an actual image of Elvis. then I think some of the developers are part of the credits. Yeah. Let's get into the game. And here's another place where it sometimes gets stuck, but this release should have fixed that for the most part. But you can't be certain because sometimes it regresses. So here we have the music and the loading text. And sometimes it just takes an eternity to get into the game after this, the main screen. Yeah, this is already much too long. It shouldn't have taken this long. So it's probably not stuck, but it can take a while after that. And then it usually helps just resetting and you can get into the game within 30 seconds. Because it gets these two accessing the CD. And then it should switch to Canon Photos loading. And we get the music, we get the graphics, and we can skip the flower. And hopefully it now begins playing the music, and within 5 seconds it also shows the game screen. Well, this time it's not even showing playing the music. Let's try without fast RAM. Oh wait, it has decache disabled. That's interesting. I do not remember having disabled that. But maybe that did do something. An interesting thing about MGL files is that I can now save the configuration and actually save it to the MGL file. And since the last one I loaded was the universe, oh yeah, so it did have, that's why it worked. It's because it disabled the caching. But most CD32 games does seem to need that cache that was disabled for the universe game. The decache. Sounds as the music. Let's try the MGL file, because sometimes they have things that the game need. See, no fast RAM, 2 megabytes of chip RAM. And loading the MGL also loads the core, and it loads a specific configuration for the Amiga. Now it's stuck here, it seems. Why would it get stuck there? But then sometimes it helps after loading the MGL to reset, because it does something with the CD cache better that I had hoped was fixed, so that it would load the MGL and cache CDs properly. But it doesn't work every time. So now I can skip this. And since we loaded the MGL, I'm pretty sure it gets into the game now. Yeah. And then we can load. And it asks if we want to load from CD32. So now it tries to load from So it loaded the game from the NVRAM that was stored on disk, and it's per CD. That's why it didn't conflict with Simon. It shouldn't really conflict with Simon either way on a real CD32, but the real CD32 of course only has one NVRAM storage, and games would share that, and in some cases that meant it could run out of space. I'm not really sure how well games handled that. But it also meant that they had to be really minimalistic about how to save games, and that was probably also why Simon the Sorcerer, for example, only has one save game to use. So I did some tests coming to, I think this is mission 3. Yeah. This is another place that the game could get stuck, so that it would take several minutes for it to be go for it ready. But that should also be fixed in this release. Somewhat fixed, because it still acts strangely sometimes, as you could tell earlier. I'm not exactly sure how to ensure that you cast grenades and so on. Because with a mouse it would be pressing both mouth buttons. But it seems to work quite well. And I never really understood how this game would work on consoles and such, but now that I've tried how it works here with the console, it works quite well, because you click where you need to go and then you can shoot in all kinds of directions while they move. But anyway, let's see what else we have. I think a good test is microcosm, because it uses a lot of the CD32 features apparently, and it has a pretty nice intro. So there's this screen, and it looks like it might be a loading screen, but for some reason it's something you can just click past. And after some optimizations it loads pretty fast. It used to get stuck at the earlier part, or at least take incredibly long. It's a bit long intro, so let's skip here to show that it also works in game. And for some reason you just get directly into the game. I'm not sure if that should be a menu or something. I guess not. I don't really think it's a very good game. Gameplay-wise at least. But it was something, as the opening text says, it was a game that was included with another game or the CD32 and somehow. Yeah. I guess a good test is Lead 2, because it's often used as a benchmark, and it should work. I think the problem is it's in this package, and it didn't update, but I can just update it here. Save, and next time it should load correctly. And as you can see, this runs pretty well. I haven't tested this before, so I didn't really know that it would work, but most things should work. But I have tried the games that would work with the Amiga Vision CD32 package and then just doesn't work with this one, so it is two different things, two different ways of doing the CD32 stuff. Oh, and it works with the mouse from the controller support. And it seems to work quite well. I actually never really played this much. Probably should have, 'cause I loved the original Elite, but I never got it to work that well. I'll come to think of it, I don't really know how to control this. Maybe I can't even do anything yet. Manual control, let's try that. No, I am in manual control, maybe. Rear view. Oh, and there's time. Interesting. Oh, deep core. The game loads, but it has issues with background graphics. HeroQuest 2. It also has CD music, and it should work fully. Maybe it gave it fast RAM. Or maybe it just needed the reset again. But yeah, it shouldn't stay long at this. It should just do that right away. And then it should fully work. And this is the regular intro for HeroQuest 2. There was a floppy release and a CD32 release, and I'm not sure if there were other releases for the Amiga, but this is how the floppy release would work as well. But then when you get to the menu, if you played the floppy version, you would notice that the music is specific to the CD32 because it had CD audio and maybe didn't have license for the original tracks, or used the same music artist for the music, so it's completely new music. Also, I think I saved the game. Yeah, so you can save and load as before. Map. And then you go on quests. And since I didn't set up my heroes, I just have the barbarian. Yeah, I quite like this game. I had it for my Amiga originally, but not the CD32 version. And I dislike the CD32 release with the CD32 music because I liked the original music better, but I guess you could put together the original track on a music CD so that it would work. But yeah, that's actually another thing I want to show. So you can take this, switch it to another game, game that does have CD music. So not sure what. Maybe this one. No. Let's take the one. So it just if you switch CDs right away, it'll just completely ignore everything and just continue from exactly where it was with another CD. I found that a bit funny. Maybe it doesn't have enough tracks. And yeah, here we have Shock Rock 2 music. Let's see what else we have. Oh, and let's just test that it now works doing this, because last time it got stuck on this boot part. I think you can maybe also tell by how fast the CD is, scrolling CD letters are moving, whether it's working or not. So yeah, this time it worked. Oh yeah, I got a SimCity thing. So it has fast RAM enabled. It might be a problem. Let's try without the fast RAM. Wait. Strange. Well, it seems like it actually was working, it was just taking a while. But let's try to reset here, because sometimes it just loads faster after you've loaded the MGL to do a reset. Sometimes. But yeah, that might be specific to this game, because it just seems to have long loading times. So if we wait, it should come. Wing command I haven't gotten to work. I'm not sure if it's my version of it that's a problem. Because it just doesn't seem to boot at all. It goes to the CD32 ROM boot. Both versions. So yeah, here we have SimCity. It gets to this part. I have got an in-game as well. So I'll try to click past this. And let's browse some more. Yeah. And I think this is CD music. Oh, let's go see it. So this is the intro for it. Oh yeah, and it's a CD TV game, so the CD32 had some CDTV support, but it was... I think it was maybe better described as some CDTV games as having CD32 support rather than the other way around. Because it was pretty rare that CDTV games would actually run on the CD32. But some of the exceptions were Defender of the Crown that I showed earlier, Lemmings, and this game. And it'll be a while again before it gets to the next part. I thought about maybe using the settings to change the CPU. Problem is the ROM needs it to be an O20 CPU and it needs the AGA chipset and so on. But maybe I'll try to implement CDTV support so that it can run CDTV games as a CDTV machine with the original settings and such. But as we have seen so far, there are still some issues with this CD32 support. But let's try a new game and see that for some reason there's a medieval city. I'm not sure what it actually does. I was in it a bit. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not actually medieval. And there's a western city. I guess this is original SimCity. Then a future city. One of these should apparently have rap music in it somewhere. Let's try the future city. We better pick easy. Oh yeah, and these are apparently random, so you can get different things. If I remember correctly, you could have more settings for this in other versions of SimCity. I suspect this is those slow loading times this game has, and that might still just be how the game works, but I'm hoping it can be improved. But it also does seem to be pretty specific to this game. Yeah, there we go. So we have SimCity. And you can build stuff. They mind living next to the nuclear power plant. That's fine. Warcraft even. spaceport. Oh yeah, this is the future apparently, so 3D server is not just a sort of stadium. Football. And monorail instead of a train. I haven't tried this version of SimCity before, so that is some interesting things. I wonder how the Western one would work. Oh yeah, Simon the Sorcerer 2 was not really an Amiga CD game, or Amiga game at all. I have never gotten it to boot correctly. I'm not even sure where I found it. Oh yeah, another example of switching CD mid-game and it just straight away switches to playing from the other one. Advantages of having a digital system. So yeah, to me it seems like there's a pretty high compatibility rate for CD32 games, with some issues that come and go. And I still have some things I want to add to this core before I release it, and I want to go over the things, I mean, release it as trying to get it onto the MiSTer itself. So I hope to figure out why it sometimes loads at different speeds. Oh yeah, there was the Assassin CD, let's try that one. It sometimes has issues. But I think maybe those issues is one of the ones where if you have fast RAM enabled, it won't load correctly. So have the chipset. I'm thinking there isn't an MGL for it. Nope. But I did make an MGL for no CD. If I can find it. There, CD32, no CD. No fast RAM, and so on. So it reloads the core. Oh, something else to show is that this is the actual CD32 boot. So that means I can click on one of the buttons to go to this part that should show CD tracks and so on. Problem is when it boots the CDs as you plug them in, you can't really see this working. Unless I find one that doesn't boot, and then I don't seem to see anything there. But another thing you can actually do here is go to this one, where you can select the language. And I'm not sure how to use this, but I guess some games support that I'm Danish, so I could pick that one, pick this one, and it doesn't do anything here, but I suspect that some games support doing that. Doing something differently when you load them. But let's see, we were testing. Oh wait, that's its own thing. I didn't know the Wing Commander game was part of the Amiga Vision Pack. That's nice, because that means it actually works. Maybe? Yeah, seems it does. If that is the correct speed. Seems like it's a bit too fast. It might be a bit too fast. We could try this. But some games just refuse to boot completely when you disable Dcache. But as we see, so with the Universe game, it seems to work when you do that. Well, let's try the Assassins one again. Oh, and yeah, we didn't have fast RAM, so this should work. And let's try the reset.
Got it. Ow.